I married her, and in exchange, I gave you a big sum of money to restart your business. In addition to paying your debts, you have no right to interfere in my marriage, retorted Oluwaseun. Chioma stays my daughter, and I have all the rights to intervene if you treat her badly. She will not remain married to you. I'm going to make sure she divorces you, answered Obiora. Before divorce, you will have to reimburse the big sum of money that I gave you to restart your business and pay your debts. If you cannot pay again, there will be no divorce, replied Oluwaseun. Tell my wife to return. She should not force me to come and fetch her myself, he concluded before hanging up. Chioma collapsed in tears on hearing the conversation between her father and Oluwaseun. I will remain his prey, cried her. Mom, Daddy, don't you know if I really want to marry Oluwaseun? Asked Chioma to her parents. He's a young man, he has a good education, and he's rich. All you want will be provided, answered Adana. But Mum, I don't like him. I just met him through this arranged marriage, replied Chioma. My daughter, you just have to accept this wedding. As you see, my business collapsed and your mother finds it very difficult to meet the needs of the family. If you agree to marry Oluwaseun, he will help me financially and I could restart my business. I have already lost so much money. Oluwaseun is the only solution to help us in this crisis, explained Obiora, patting her shoulder. Chioma found that her parents were not ready to give up the idea that she marry Oluwaseun. She got up, tears in her eyes, and left. Oluwaseun's parents met those of Chioma. They talked about marriage and began to make preparations. Oluwaseun decided to see Chioma before the ceremony. They found themselves both at the back. Chioma, you don't look happy. Why? Oluwaseun asked. Why should I be happy when I'm getting married to a perfect unknown that I don't like and know nothing about? Answered Chioma. I saw you and I want you as a wife. Your parents will benefit much from this wedding, so I don't see why you wouldn't be happy, replied Oluwaseun. Really? Launched Chioma while walking away from Oluwaseun's gaze. She decided to move away, but he grabbed her arm. I didn't finish talking. Why do you want to turn your back to your future husband? Chioma released her arm from Oluwaseun's grip, went away from him, and returned to her room. I see that she doesn't care about respect for me. I will take care of it soon, muttered Oluwaseun to himself. Why these tears? You want to ruin your makeup? If your future family sees you crying, what will they think of us? Asked Adana, addressing Chioma. They could believe that we force you to marry their son, pursued her mother. Why? Can't I get married to my own free will? Replied Chioma. You do this for your family. This wedding will be of great help for your father, so you have to get better. It's your marriage day, at least pretend to be happy, added her mother. But Mum, this is not the life I've dreamed of. Collapsed in tears, Chioma. Straining for the good of her parents, she married Oluwaseun. Hey, big brother, happy to see you. It's been a long time, you look like you're in shape and you found a beautiful woman, says Chidi to Oluwaseun. I'm happy to see you, brother. I didn't expect to see you make the trip for my wedding, replied Oluwaseun. Why not? It's the wedding of my unique brother, retorted Chidi. My beautiful sister, here is the gift I have for you and my brother, he said smiling, offering his wedding present to Chioma. During the reception, while everyone drank and danced, Chidi approached Oluwaseun. Brother, your wife doesn't look happy in my opinion. I hope everything is fine and there is no problem. Don't worry for her, she is just sad at the thought of leaving her family, answered Oluwaseun, sipping his glass of wine. Ah, I see. Cheers to your union, resumed Chidi, clinking his glass against Oluwaseun's. I'm going to go. I want to take my bride home, called Oluwaseun to Chidi. Okay, brother, I leave you. I'm flying tomorrow, cried Chidi, while Oluwaseun moved away. Thank you for coming. Take care of yourself, answered Oluwaseun, shouting. Mom, Daddy, I'm going with Oluwaseun, announced Chioma in a sad voice. May God bless your union and be a good wife for your husband, says Adana, squeezing Chioma in her arms. Arriving at home, Oluwaseun wanted to make love to Chioma, but she refused. I'm not ready for that, and I'm tired. I need to rest, replied Chioma to Oluwaseun. What are you saying? I married you and it's our wedding night. You don't have the right to repel me, replied Oluwaseun in a hard tone. Chioma ignored him and pretended to leave the room. I'm speaking to you and you turn your back. Oluwaseun pushed her and won with force. What followed was truly horrible. After this incident, Kioma cried all the tears of her body, disgusted and disappointed. It was already 6 months since Kioma and Oluwaseun married. Oluwaseun never showed the slightest consideration nor kindness towards her. "Oluwaseun, look at the time you come back from work. It is more than 2 a.m. and you smell of alcohol," launched Kioma. "Shut up and get me something to eat," retorted Oluwaseun. "You don't even want to explain to me why you come back at this time, and it's not the first time. You don't even try to call me to warn me. I had to get your dinner while thinking you were on the way. Look at the time now," noticed Kioma, pointing to the wall clock. "I told you to get me my meal, and you continue to speak. For who do you take yourself to ask me questions?" roared Oluwaseun, while pushing Kioma violently, causing her to fall on the floor. Oluwaseun went directly to his room and fell asleep. Kioma assisted in helping him undress. As she took off his clothes, Oluwaseun's phone made a signal. Kioma took it and saw the message from a stranger, which revealed that Oluwaseun was cheating on her, and that was why he was coming back so late. The next day, she didn't address a word about the message. She prepared Oluwaseun's breakfast and went about her daily tasks. "I would like to apply for a job. I can't bear anymore to stay at home every day and depend on you for money," declared Kioma. "So you want to find a job to go flirt with young boys out there, huh?" launched Oluwaseun. "What do you mean?" "Do you think I'll allow myself to be unfaithful?" replied Kioma. "I respect my marriage, unlike some people who deceive their spouse," she pursued. "It's up to me that you are referring to?" asked Oluwaseun. Kioma kept the silence. "I'm talking to you. Are you alluding that I'm lying? You're not wrong. Maybe that's why you come back to the house so late, huh?" cried Kioma. Oluwaseun got up and delivered a powerful slap to Kioma. He stared at her again and said, "You're lucky I'm not in a bad mood today, otherwise you wouldn't recognize yourself looking in a mirror." Kioma slept when she heard knocking on her room in the middle of the night. "Oluwaseun, is it at this hour that you come back?" Kioma asked in a trembling voice, getting up to open the door. "What took you so long to open the door, huh?" asked Oluwaseun. "You know I was sleeping," replied Kioma. "Why are you here?" she interrogated. "I came to make love to my wife," replied Oluwaseun. Kioma looked at him and sighed, ready to go back, but Oluwaseun pulled her back and pushed her. She screamed at him, "Now you remember that I exist? Now you tell me I'm your wife? You could go back to your mistress who keeps you out until the middle of the night." "It's to me that you dare to speak like that," shouted Oluwaseun, slapping Kioma. She grabbed his shirt and struck him in turn. Oluwaseun landed a blow and pushed her onto the bed, tore her pajamas, and abused her. Kioma spent the night crying. The next day, Kioma was still in bed when Oluwaseun woke her brutally, yanking her arm. "Get up. At this hour, you're still in bed. You haven't even prepared my breakfast or ironed my outfit. I'm going to be late for work," cried Oluwaseun. "I'm sick," answered Kioma in a weak voice. "That doesn't stop you from preparing my breakfast and ironing my clothes," replied Oluwaseun. "I do it every day. Today I'm not able to because I'm sick. Can't you help me, please? There are drinks in the kitchen." "So you're asking me to prepare my own breakfast and iron my clothes?" he shouted. He dragged her out of bed and pushed her out of the room. "I told you that I was sick. Can't you help me just for today?" screamed Kioma. "Go prepare my breakfast and iron my clothes, otherwise I will throw you out without anything," Oluwaseun yelled. Kioma sobbed while preparing Oluwaseun's meal. He returned from work but didn't see Kioma at home. He tried to reach her but couldn't. An hour later, Kioma came home. "Why do you look so surprised to see me?" "Where were you? Who did you go to see?" questioned Oluwaseun. "I'm just surprised to see you already returned. I didn't go to see anyone. I'm coming back from the hospital. I had tests done yesterday. I've been sick for 3 days," explained Kioma. "Why didn't you tell me you were going to the hospital? Show me the results," asked Oluwaseun, holding out his hand. Kioma sighed and took out the document from her bag. "I am pregnant," she announced. "I see," replied Oluwaseun, folding the paper after reading it and giving it back to Kioma. "I'm very hungry. What did you prepare?" "That's all you have to say after I showed you that I'm pregnant." "What do you want me to say?" "Go make me something to eat, woman," shouted Oluwaseun. "Here, I bought you an outfit. My parents will come visit us, wear it and be presentable," ordered Oluwaseun, holding out the garment. Chioma took the outfit with a grimace. If your parents weren't coming, you would have never bought me anything. Since we've been married, you've never bought me even the smallest trinket. Now you offer me this outfit just to hide my bruises so your parents don't notice that you mistreat me, huh? Watch what you say and do as you're told, replied Oluwaseun, leaving the room. Later that day, Oluwaseun's parents, Chidi and Chantal, arrived, and Chioma prepared all kinds of dishes. Everyone began eating. "Mom, Daddy, I have good news to tell you," Chioma said to her in-laws. "What is it? Tell us quickly," asked Chantal. "I'm pregnant," Chioma announced. "Congratulations, my daughter." "Oluwaseun, why didn't you tell us your wife is pregnant?" "Well, you're telling us now," Chantal cried. "My dear, all my congratulations. I'm so happy I'm going to be a grandmother," added Chantal. "Congratulations, my dear," said Chidi, smiling. Chioma was already 3 months pregnant. After finishing her daily chores, she prepared dinner and waited for Oluwaseun. She waited and ended up falling asleep. A few hours later, she woke up. It was already past midnight. "Did Oluwaseun come back tonight?" she murmured. She took her phone and called him. "Hello, Oluwaseun. It's late, aren't you coming back?" "I already made dinner," she informed him. "No, I won't be coming back," answered Oluwaseun. "Why?" Chioma asked. She heard a woman's voice in the background. "Who is this woman I hear?" asked Chioma. Oluwaseun didn't answer. "Oluwaseun, you're with your mistress," shouted Chioma. Oluwaseun ended the call without answering. "Hello? Hello? Oluwaseun," exclaimed Chioma in vain. She called back, but he didn't answer. "What did I do to deserve such a cruel husband? How can a man abandon his pregnant wife alone at home to go to another woman?" wept Chioma. The next morning, "Chioma, my brother will take his flight in 3 days. I suggested he stay at our apartment before he finds his own home. So prepare the guest room and cook a good meal. Make sure he feels at home," said Oluwaseun. "You just called for that?" "I thought you were going to explain your night out and tell me who you were with," replied Chioma. "What I do and who I'm with is none of your business. Please do what I told you." Oluwaseun cut her off before hanging up. Oluwaseun didn't return for 4 days. Chioma was resting in her room when she heard someone knocking. She got up to open the door and discovered Oluwaseun and his mistress. Oluwaseun smelled of alcohol and the young woman was supporting him to enter. Chioma stood with arms spread to block their access. "What do you think you're doing? Where do you intend to go with my husband?" launched the mistress. Oluwaseun pushed her, but Chioma still resisted, blocking the mistress. "Is that how you treat a guest?" exclaimed Oluwaseun, slapping Chioma, who fell to the ground holding her cheek. "So you slap me because of your mistress? If you prefer to spend your time with her, why marry me?" cried Chioma, tears in her eyes. "You only came to make my life miserable," she yelled, insulting the mistress. Furious, Oluwaseun took off his belt and struck Chioma. She screamed and protected her belly as much as she could. Oluwaseun went to give her a violent kick directly in the stomach. Chioma let out a heartbreaking cry. "Let's go, darling. Let's leave this woman. She just ruined my mood," said the mistress, taking his hand. He left the house, abandoning his pregnant wife, who tried to crawl to seek help, screaming. 2 hours later, Chidi arrived at Oluwaseun's house. He saw the open door and, intrigued, heard Chioma shouting and crying. Chidi dropped his suitcases and ran inside. "Oh my God, Chioma, what happened?" he asked, panicked, discovering Chioma lying on the ground bleeding. "Help me," murmured Chioma in a low voice. Chidi took her immediately to the hospital. He tried to reach Oluwaseun to inform him of his wife's condition without success. After a few hours, the doctor arrived. Chidi ran to her to get news of Chioma. The doctor told him that Chioma had lost her baby. If she had been brought in earlier, the fetus might have been saved, the doctor continued. Chidi was upset to learn this news. "I hope she is fine, please," implored Chidi. "Yes, she is fine and out of danger," answered the doctor. Chioma couldn't hold her tears. She cried, cursing Oluwaseun, who had caused her to lose her baby. Chidi spent the night at the hospital. In the morning, he hurried back to get some things Chioma would need. A few days later, Chioma was able to leave the hospital and Chidi took her home. When they arrived, Chidi prepared a hot bath for Chioma. He went to the kitchen to make dinner. Chioma, still in shock, struggled to eat. Chidi comforted her and encouraged her to eat a little. When they finished, Chidi asked Kioma who caused the miscarriage. She didn't answer, but let her tears flow. "How did you get all these bruises?" "And where is Oluwaseun?" questioned Chidi. "Please tell me the truth. I need to know." "It's your brother who did all this," replied Kioma. "How can you tell me that Oluwaseun is responsible for your miscarriage and injuries?" asked Chidi. "Yes," answered Kioma. "It's not possible. The Oluwaseun I know would never do that," said Chidi in disbelief. "Then you don't really know your brother. Oluwaseun is a monster," lamented Kioma. Chidi remained petrified. When Kioma went to rest, Chidi tried to reach Oluwaseun, but he didn't answer. The next day, Oluwaseun returned home. "Brother, when did you arrive?" asked Oluwaseun. 3 days ago," replied Chidi. "I thought you were supposed to arrive in 2 days," remarked Oluwaseun. "I finished earlier than expected, so I took a flight to return that day. And thankfully I arrived that night. Who knows what would have happened to Chioma otherwise," said Chidi. "What are you saying?" Oluwaseun tensed. "Brother, your wife could have lost her life in addition to your child. You know she was hospitalized and lost the baby because of your violence. How can you beat your pregnant wife without feeling the slightest remorse?" Chidi lectured. "Chidi, I didn't know she was going to lose the baby," answered Oluwaseun. "Even if she hadn't been pregnant, you should never have hit her," said Chidi. "Where is she?" asked Oluwaseun. "She's in her room, and I think she's still upset." Oluwaseun went to Chioma's room, but found the door locked from the inside. He knocked, asking Kioma to open, but she ignored him. Oluwaseun continued hammering the door until Chidi intervened. "Brother, enough. Leave her in peace. She's still suffering. Come back later," suggested Chidi. Kioma remained shut in for several days. She kept crying, thinking about Oluwaseun's fury. Finally, she decided to visit her parents after spending several days isolated. "Where are you going?" asked Oluwaseun, seeing her about to leave. Kioma ignored him. "I'm talking to you," insisted Oluwaseun. "I will visit my parents," she replied. "Why do you want to go home?" "To tell how I treated you and how you had a miscarriage, like you did with my brother," accused Oluwaseun. "I need my family right now. I need to see them," answered Kioma. "Don't take another step. Don't leave this house," shouted Oluwaseun. "Why? Explain to me why I can't see my parents. You have never let me visit them or even leave the house," replied Kioma. "I don't want to discuss this. Go rest. Put down that bag, you're not going anywhere," ordered Oluwaseun. Kioma repressed her anger and stared at him. Oluwaseun went to lock the door and kept the key. The next morning, "Kioma!" "Where is she?" exclaimed Oluwaseun, looking everywhere. He found Chidi, who was training with headphones on. "Brother, have you seen my wife?" asked Oluwaseun. "No, I haven't." "Did you look everywhere?" answered Chidi. "Yes, impossible to find her." "Try calling her," suggested Chidi. "I did, but she won't answer," said Oluwaseun. "Where could she be?" Chidi dialed Kioma's number and she answered. "Hello, Kioma, where are you? We can't find you," asked Chidi. "I'm at my parents'." "I just arrived," replied Kioma. "Okay, I'll tell Oluwaseun where you are." "Give me the phone. I want to talk to her," demanded Oluwaseun, snatching the handset from Chidi. "Hello?" Kioma immediately hung up when she heard Oluwaseun's voice. "How dare she hang up on me?" fumed Oluwaseun, furious that Kioma had disobeyed by going to her parents and ignoring his call. Obiora and Adana were delighted to see their daughter after all this time. They welcomed her warmly. "You sent us a message saying you had lost your baby. How did it happen?" asked Adana curiously. Kioma sighed. "How are you and Oluwaseun after this?" "I feel bad for you two," pursued Adana. "Mom, please stop. Can you stop with Oluwaseun?" exploded Kioma. "That monster is responsible for the loss of my child." "How is Oluwaseun responsible for your miscarriage?" asked Obiora. "I have lived through hell," said Kioma, before telling them everything that had led to her miscarriage, and how Oluwaseun had abused her since their marriage. Adana kept her hands over her mouth in shock, while Obiora lowered his head in shame. "My daughter, I'm really sorry," cried Obiora, his voice broken by sobs. "I put you in this situation out of pure selfishness. I didn't think of your happiness and forced you to marry such a monster. Forgive us. Your mother and I thought Oluwaseun was a good man." We didn't know he would make your life miserable after the wedding. Forgive me, my daughter, forgive me, he implored. Kioma was about to answer when Obiora's phone rang. It was Oluwaseun. Hello, Mr. Obiora, tell my wife to return my calls, launched Oluwaseun. So you can brutalize her again? Is that what I gave you, Oluwaseun? I gave you my daughter with confidence and you mistreat her. Was it a crime giving her to you in marriage? I thought you were a good man. How I treat my wife is none of your business. I married her, and in exchange, I gave you a big sum of money to restart your business, in addition to paying your debts. You have no right to interfere in my marriage, retorted Oluwaseun. Kioma stays my daughter, and I have all the rights to intervene if you treat her badly. She will not remain married to you. I'm going to make sure she divorces you, replied Obiora. Oluwaseun burst out laughing. Before divorce, you will have to reimburse the big sum of money I gave you to restart your business and pay your debts. If you can't reimburse me, there will be no divorce, declared Oluwaseun. Tell my wife to return. She should not force me to come fetch her myself, he concluded before hanging up. Kioma collapsed in tears on hearing the conversation between her father and Oluwaseun. I will remain his prey, she cried, kneeling on the ground. I will make sure to repay him so that you can be free, declared Obiora, his gaze dark. But Dad, how will you gather all this money? It must be a huge sum. Don't worry about it, my daughter. We will do our best to get the money, comforted Adana. Look who's here. I thought your parents wouldn't let you leave, or they don't have the money, mocked Oluwaseun, seeing Kioma's face swollen from crying. Kioma said nothing, just staring at him. Didn't I forbid you to leave the house? Asked Oluwaseun, grabbing her hair and squeezing her cheek. Oluwaseun, stop, you're hurting me, cried Kioma, struggling. Go to the room and never ever disobey me again, he ordered. Kioma prepared as usual the things Oluwaseun needed for work and took care of her daily tasks. Chidi spent time with her so she wouldn't sink completely into depression and at times even managed to make her laugh. It's getting late. What time will Oluwaseun be back? Asked Chidi, checking his watch. He's not here. Better. At least I'm a little happier when he's away, answered Kioma. I see you really don't like Oluwaseun, noted Chidi. Who would like such a man? Are you sure he's your brother? I have trouble believing that parents as good and kind as yours could have a son like him. He's your opposite. You should ask your parents if they really gave birth to him. She burst out laughing. During this time, Oluwaseun entered. What makes you laugh so much? He asked Chidi. Oh, nothing special. Kioma just told me a joke, smiled Chidi. Oluwaseun looked at Kioma scornfully and went to his room. The presence of Chidi in the house comforted Kioma a little. One day, Chidi noticed she was anxious. Kioma, what's troubling you? He questioned. I'm pregnant, confided Kioma, closing her eyes in pain. Why aren't you happy? You should want a child, observed Chidi. After what happened a few months ago, I never wanted to get pregnant by Oluwaseun. He doesn't deserve to be a father. So why are you pregnant if you didn't want to be? Asked Chidi. Your brother, this monster, always forces me to have relations. If I refuse, he beats me and gets what he wants. She began to cry. Chidi consoled her, saying everything would eventually be all right. Already 8 weeks that Kioma concealed her pregnancy from Oluwaseun. What is this? That's not what I asked for breakfast, shouted Oluwaseun from the dining room. Yet that's what you asked for. I'm sure I heard clearly, retorted Kioma. You dare to contradict me again. Got angry and yelled at Kioma, who stood holding her cheek, dreading a blow. Get out of my sight, you stupid woman, screamed Oluwaseun. Kioma didn't move, her gaze fixed on him. I'm talking to you. Oluwaseun raised his hand to hit her. Chidi, witnessing the scene, rushed and grabbed Oluwaseun's hand. Brother, your wife is pregnant. Don't hit her. You want her to lose this baby too. What? Kioma is pregnant? Exclaimed Oluwaseun, stunned. Yes, your wife is expecting a child, confirmed Chidi. So you're pregnant and you hid it. Oluwaseun turned to Kioma. She remained silent, simply staring. Why didn't you tell me? What did you expect? Think I was going to treat you differently? During my first pregnancy, you never spared me, retorted Kioma. So that's it, huh? I'm talking to you. Oluwaseun approached her furiously. Brother, calm down. Maybe she was afraid to tell you. Chidi tried to intervene. Oluwaseun shoved Chidi aside and left. "You lost the child and you dare to shout at me," launched Oluwaseun before slapping her. "What? Is it my fault?" screamed Kioma. "By your neglect, you have to take responsibility for this loss." "What responsibility? And did you assume responsibility when you caused my first miscarriage?" "Cruel and heartless man, you are nothing but a monster," shouted Kioma. "It's to me that you're talking this way," roared Oluwaseun, locking the door. He removed his belt and began to whip Kioma without pity. She screamed and cried. Chidi immediately hung up his phone and ran to Kioma's room. The door was locked from inside. He begged Oluwaseun to open, but in vain. As Oluwaseun continued the beating, Chidi rushed to his brother's room looking for spare keys. He found a keychain and tried key after key until finally one opened the door. Chidi intervened and pushed back Oluwaseun, who furiously ordered him to mind his own business. "I'm going out. When I return, I don't want to see you in my house," threatened Oluwaseun, slamming the gate. Chidi consoled Kioma, then headed to the exit. When he reached the gate, he changed his mind. "Get your things. You're leaving. I refuse to leave you in my brother's hands. He will end up killing you," Chidi told the sobbing Kioma. Kioma stood up painfully and gathered her belongings. Chidi took her to the hospital to treat her wounds, then to his apartment. "You can stay here for now. I can't take you to your parents because Oluwaseun will look there. He doesn't know my new apartment's address yet, so you'll be safe here," explained Chidi. Kioma, overwhelmed with emotion, thanked him. As he consoled her, Chidi asked what she planned to do about her marriage. "I can't continue with Oluwaseun. I feel chained. My life will never be free if I stay with him. I want a divorce. I beg you," implored Kioma. "If that's your decision, I'll help you. You've suffered too much because of my brother. I'll contact my lawyers and help you start the divorce procedure," Chidi promised. Meanwhile, Oluwaseun returned home days later and noticed Kioma's absence and missing belongings. He went to her parents to find her. "Oluwaseun, what brings you here?" Obiora was surprised. "I've come to get my wife. Tell her to come out or I'll drag her out myself," replied Oluwaseun. "What? My daughter is supposed to be at home with you," alarmed Obiora. "Don't tell me she's not here. This is all just an act," raged Oluwaseun, trying to force his way into the house. Obiora grabbed him by the shirt. "Where is my daughter? If anything's happened to her, I'll kill you," threatened Obiora. Oluwaseun left and went to his own parents' home. "What do you mean you can't find your wife? What have you done?" asked Chantal, his mother. "Yes, mother. I went to her parents. She wasn't there," answered Oluwaseun. "So where could she be?" worried Chantal. "Perhaps at a friend's," suggested the father. "No, she doesn't have friends," said Oluwaseun. "Wait, she must be at Chidi's." He tried to reach Chidi, but got no answer. Then came a knock at the door. Oluwaseun opened it. "Hello, sir," said the lawyer. "Yes, it's me. What can I do for you?" The lawyer explained, "I went to your apartment but couldn't find you. I was given this address. I'm informing you that you're summoned to court. Your wife has filed for divorce." "What?" Oluwaseun exploded. "This is Chidi's doing. Without him, Kioma couldn't have done all this." "Mom, Dad, tell Chidi to mind his business, otherwise he won't like what I'll do to him. Tell him to bring Kioma back home," screamed Oluwaseun, leaving furiously. "What exactly is happening?" alarmed Chantal. She called Chidi. "Hello, Chidi, come immediately, wherever you are. I know Kioma is with you. I want to see you both. You need to explain what's happening." A few hours later, Chidi and Kioma arrived. Chantal and Oluwaseun's father were already seated in the living room. "Chidi, Kioma, why did you ask for divorce?" "Explain," exclaimed Chantal, worried. "Mom, I rescued Kioma because Oluwaseun was treating her terribly. He doesn't respect her. You don't know what she endured. I didn't know I had such a monstrous brother. I wonder if he even has a heart to treat his wife this way," explained Chidi. "How can you speak of your brother like that?" protested Oluwaseun. "But Oluwaseun only told me there were small disagreements between them," said Chantal. "Mom, don't believe Oluwaseun's pretty words. He beats her. That's why I had to protect her," explained Chidi. While he spoke, Kioma remained silent, tears flowing down her cheeks. Chidi then suggested Chantal go with Kioma to another room to see for herself. The stunned Chantal discovered the bruises and cried, "My God, Don't tell me my son did this to you." "Yes, it was your son," confirmed Kioma. Chantal was in shock. They returned to the living room, Chantal's face defeated, deeply disappointed. Oluwaseun and Kioma were summoned to court. With all the evidence of violence, the divorce was granted and Oluwaseun was arrested for domestic violence. He begged his parents to hire a lawyer for his release on bail. "I will do no such thing," answered Chantal. "Why, Mom? You want to leave me here?" asked Oluwaseun. "It's nothing compared to what you've done to Kioma. I'm ashamed to call you my son. Your father never raised a hand to me. You're a disappointment to this family," replied Chantal. "Father, help me," implored Oluwaseun. His father shook his head sadly and replied that he could do nothing. "Purge your pain, and upon your release, I hope you'll never dare raise your hand to a woman again," concluded Chantal, leaving with Chidi. Chioma's parents rejoiced seeing their daughter finally freed from her marriage to Oluwaseun. As they congratulated her on the divorce, there was a knock at the door. Kioma opened it. It was Oluwaseun's parents and Chidi. Chantal and Chidi apologized to Kioma for the suffering caused by their son Pan brother. "You don't have to apologize, it's not your fault," replied Kioma. "The culprits are my parents, and I was forced accepting this arranged marriage because we needed financial help when I didn't even know Oluwaseun. We terribly regret it today. We are grateful that your family did what we didn't have the courage to do," added Obiora, addressing Oluwaseun's parents. Chioma thanked Chantal and Chidi for supporting her even against their own son, brother. She moved toward Chidi and hugged him. "Without you, I would still be trapped in that marriage, believing there was no way out because of my family's debts to Oluwaseun. Thank you for supporting me and starting this procedure despite the consequences for your brother. I'm relieved that you're finally free from this marriage. I hope you can be happy and live the life you dream of," answered Chidi with a smile. The two families shared a meal. Kioma announced to her parents her intention to move to another state for a fresh start and to heal her wounds. Her family encouraged her and gave their blessing. Kioma finally did everything Oluwaseun had prevented her from doing. She found a good job and savored her freedom and happiness. Remember these lessons. Flee any toxic relationship or marriage. Your happiness counts tremendously, and no one, not even your parents, should decide your life for you. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you've learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tales just like this one. Thank you for your time.